inside of spinal cord, we have circulation of special liquid, which we call craniocerebral fluid. And this special liquid circulated in two places, not in one, but in two places. Place number one, it is special cavities inside of the brain, which we call ventricles. Let's say once again, inside of the brain, like inside of the spinal cord, we have circulation of CSF. CSF circulated in two different spaces. Space number one, it is special cavities inside of the brain, which we call ventricles. Space number two, it is so-called subarachnoidal space, which is located between arachnoidal and pia mater layers. I think idea is very simple. There are special liquid. By the way, in our body there are approximately half of liter of this liquid, which is circulated in two different places. Place number one, it is special cavities inside of the brain, which we call ventricles. Place number two, it is space which is located between arachnoidal layer and pia mater. That's why we come to conclusion, right, and remember that these two different places must have connections to each other. These two different places of circulation, I mean ventricles and subarachnoidal space, must to be connected to each other. And you know it so. You remember the Majandi aperture and Lushka aperture. One is single, second is double, which is connected third ventricle, yeah, with this subarachnoidal space. You know it. We speak about it. We will speak more after. Let's say, my friends, we come to conclusion that we have special liquid. This special liquid circulated in two different places, and these two different places connected to each other by special apertures. I think till now everything is understandable. Fourth vertical make this connection. Now, where it is produced, this special liquid, my friends, you must write that it is produced by continuation of pia mater, which by vessels come to the ventricles, and which is formed inside of the ventricles. Look everybody here. Special structures which we call choroid plexus. It's very great visible. You can see here, my friends, the opening ventricle, and inside of the lateral ventricle you can see accumulation of the pia mater. It's great visible that it is accumulated near the vessels, because by the vessels from surface of the brain it is penetrated the brain tissue and come to the ventricles. Don't sleep, listen to me. Let's say 1 minute attention. We understand that there are special liquid. We understand where it is circulating. We understand how it is produced by choroid plexus. Now, my friends, we come to special subject, ventricles of brain. Right, please. Inside of the brain, we have 4 ventricles. Inside of the brain, we have 4 ventricles.
So what's the function of this fluid?
Function of the fluid. My friends, it's very good question. Function of the fluid. Fluid which is circulated inside of the brain gives the turgor for him. It is pressed on the walls of the brain, and it is like inner skeleton. It is the like inner skeleton of the brain. From inside it makes the pressure. And also, my friends, it has nutritional function.
For the brain?
Nutrition. Nutrition. Let's say, if inside of the brain will not be liquid, it will be sucked, closed. Let's say, liquid, it is like our skeleton, which is fix our muscles. From inside, this liquid make the pressure to the nervous system. Let's say, remember please, we have termins, the high cranial pressure. What it means? If there are more liquid than it is necessary, for example, because of inflammation, there are encephalite or meningite, which gives high production of the liquid. this high production of liquid from inside will press the neurous tissue, and it will be high intracranial pressure. Let's say, remember please, it made the stroma. Stroma, it means from inside, it is fixed the brain tissue, and it made the nutritional function. Now let's continue. Right, please. There are 4 ventricles. First 2 located inside of the hemispheres. First 2 located inside of the hemispheres, and we call it right and left lateral ventricles. This is our today's word. Right and left lateral ventricles. Right, please. Lateral ventricle. Lateral ventricle. Lateral ventricle, right, please, has 4 compartments. What dear? Inside of right and left hemisphere, inside of each hemisphere, we have 1 ventricle. We call it lateral ventricles. That's it. In the midbrain, we will have the 3rd one. In the brainstem, we will have the 4th one. And all of them will be connected to each other. Let's say, but now we don't speak about 3rd and 4th. We speak about 1st and 2nd. Let's say 1st and 2nd located inside of the hemispheres. And like I said you before, they divide it into 4 portions. Right, please. First one, we call anterior horn of lateral ventricle. Anterior horn of lateral ventricle. Continue, please. It is the uppest and most anterior part of it, uppest, highest, and most anterior part of it, which is located inside of frontal lobe. Let's say anterior horn located inside of the frontal lobe. Medially, like you remember, anterior horns subdivided from each other by septa pellucida. Once again, medially, anterior horns, it's great visible here, look at it here, this is anterior horn. Medially, they subdivided from each other by septa pellucida. Superiorly and anteriorly to anterior horn, superiorly and anteriorly to anterior horn, look everybody in the picture. Superiorly and anteriorly to anterior horn, we have corpus callosum. Let's say anteriorly and superiorly to anterior horns, we will have corpus callosum. Second part number, let's say part number 1, the most superior, look, the most superior and the most anterior part of the lateral ventricles, it is anterior horns. They are located inside of the frontal lobes. They divided from each other by septa pellucida. Superiorly and anteriorly to them, we will have corpus callosum. Second portion, we call posterior horn. Look everybody here, please. Posterior horn. It is the most posterior part of it. The posterior horn, the most posterior part of it. Continue, please. And they located inside of white matter of occipital lobe. If the first one located in white matter of frontal lobe, last one located in white matter of occipital lobe. Now please everybody look on the picture and then you will write. Look here please. From the lateral side, border will be the white matter of the temporal lobe. It's great visible. From the medial side, my friends, you can see 2 protrusions. One is located anteriorly, second is located posteriorly. Anterior one we call calcarine protrusion. Posterior one we call the bulb of posterior hole. Let's say this is calcarine protrusion. Here it's better visible. This is the bulb of posterior horn. Let's say once again, my friends. in the lateral side, it will be attached to the white matter, yeah, between occipital and temporal lobes. In the medial side, we will have two protrusions. More anteriorly, we will have calcareous protrusion because it is projected in the sulcus calcareus in the medial surface. More posteriorly, we will have the bulb of posterior horn, which is bigger than calcarine one. Let's say write it, please. Medially to on the medial wall of posterior. My friends, don't sleep. On the medial wall of posterior horn, we have two protrusions or two eminences. Eminence or protrusion, it is the same. Anteriorly, we have calcareous spar or calcareous protrusion. Calcareous spar or calcareous protrusion. It is located just left to sulcus calcareus. Just little left to the sulcus calcareus. And posteriorly, my friends, we have the bulb of posterior horn. The bulb of posterior horn. The bulb of posterior horn. Idea is understandable. Let's say two protrusions. In the anterior side, we have the... Sorry. In anterior side, we have bulb. In the posterior side, we have calcareous.
Vice versa?
Anteriorly, we have bulb. I say posteriorly.
Yeah.
I am very sorry. Anteriorly, we have the bulb. Posteriorly, we have the calcareous. Calcareous, sulcus calcareous, you remember, posteriorly it's located. Let's say anteriorly, we have the bulb. Posteriorly, we have calcareous protrusion. Bulb located anterior and superior to the calcareous protrusion. It's great visible in the picture. Look, this is the bulb, which is bigger. This is the calcareous, which is smaller.
Bulb locate what?
Bulb located anteriorly, superiorly. Calcareous, this is bulb.
The
text within the
it is one.
auxiliary side.
Superiorly and anteriorly. Superiorly and anteriorly we have bulb. Posteriorly and inferiorly we have calcareous. Let's say this is the bulb, which is twice bigger. It's visible. This is the calcareous. Let's say bulb is located superior and anterior. Calcareous located posterior and inferior. Idea is understandable. Continue, please. Part number 3. The central part. Central part. Central part of the fourth ventricle. Central part. Now 1 minute attention. Look everybody here. Central part, right please. It is portion of the fourth ventricle which is connected anterior and posterior horns to each other. It's a central part. It is the portion of the fourth ventricle which is connected anterior and posterior horns to each other. Medially to the central part, exactly located corpus callosum. Let's say central part located right and left to corpus callosum. Let's say medially to it will be exactly corpus callosum. Idea is understandable for you. Laterally to it, my friends, we will have basal nucleuses, which we described before. Let's say, look everybody here. This is my central part, which is connected anterior horn with posterior horn. Just between my two hands will be corpus callosum. Laterally to my two hands will be the basal nucleuses, which we described before. The anterior part it will be the lobus nucleus caudatus, and the lateral and posteriorly will be nucleus lentiformis, which we described. Let's say this is the part number 3, which we call central part, and which is connected anterior and posterior horns to each other. Finally, we come to the last part. Part number 4, which we call inferior horn. Inferior horn. Right, please. It is located inside of white matter of the temporal lobe. It is located in, let's say, my friends, let's make conclusion. Let's make. anterior one in white matter of frontal, posterior one in white matter of occipital. Middle one will pass in the parietal and will connect the anterior and posterior horns to each other.
Inferior
Central
one.
part.
Central, middle,
Yeah.
yeah, in the parietal, of course. And finally, my friends, the temporal one will be inside of the temporal lobe. Inside of white matter of the temporal lobe.
Inferior.
Inferior.
Of course. Conclusion is simple, guys. In each lobe, we have its part of the lateral ventricle. Anterior horn in frontal, posterior in occipital, central in the parietal, and finally inferior in the temporal. That's why it is necessary. It is question of you or question of the shunt function. It will spread the pressure to all parts of the cortex, to all parts of the hemispheres. It will be in all parts of the hemisphere, and in frontal, and in parietal, and in occipital, and in temporal. Remember it forever. Now, my friends, right, please. Inferior one, it is the most lateral and the most inferior compartment of the lateral ventricle. Most lateral and most inferior. Do you understand what I say? Once again, inferior part or inferior horn, it is the most lateral and the most inferior part. Why? Because our temporal lobe, it is the most lateral and most inferior part of our hemispheres. Right the borders of it, medially to it, we have fornix and we have basal nucleuses, medially. Lateral border will be the white matter of the temporal lobe. Once again, medially, fornix and basal nucleuses, laterally, white matter. Now we come, guys, to the last question. Not last, but one of the last questions about this lateral ventricle. Right, please. Lateral ventricles, by double aperture, let's say it is double, one has right, one has left. By double aperture, which we call interventricular foramen or foramen Monro. Once again, lateral ventricle by double aperture, which we call interventricular foramen, or by author we call it foramen Monro, connected with ventricle number 3. Firstly, I will show it in sagittal section, then I will show it in the frontal section. Look everybody here, please. This is the canal which is connected our lateral ventricle with our third ventricle in right and in left side. And it is double aperture, which we call interventricular aperture or Monro aperture. Right, please. It is located on the level of anterior horn. It is located on the level of anterior horn. It's better visible in the frontal section. It's better visible on the frontal section. Right, please. It's located in anterior horn. Continue, please. On its medial surface. On its medial surface.
But better frontal.
Yeah. Look, this is two anterior horns. This is two apertures, which is from medial surface come to down and medially, and now between them will be the third ventricle. Hold your fist. Third ventricle. These apertures we will call interventricular aperture or aperture Monro. It's great visible in the frontal section. This is two red tubes, two red apertures, which is connected blue lateral ventricle with this pink third ventricle, and it's great visible. Last one, right, please, the choroid plexus of lateral ventricle. Here, I think you forget to come to my lesson. What? You have something more important than the lesson. Right, please, choroid plexus of lateral ventricle. what is it? First of all, listen, then you will write, my friends. Like I said you before, choroid plexus, it is continuation of pia mater, which by vessels reach the ventricles, and it forms accumulation of this pia mater inside of the ventricles. Write and remember, please, mainly choroid plexus located in central part and in inferior horn. Let's say mainly we have choroid plexus in two compartments of the lateral ventricles. It is the central part and it is the inferior horn. In another part, it's not so good developed. Let's say in the central part, and we have it is in the inferior horn. This is exactly, my friends, the inferior horns region. And it is just cut, it's invisible. And what is important, my friends, write please and remember, by Monroe aperture, part of this choroid plexus from lateral ventricles goes to the third ventricle.
By
Monroe aperture or intraventricular aperture, part of this choroid plexus from lateral ventricle goes to the third ventricle. Function, production of CSF. Mohammed will not say that I don't say the function. No? Production of it is productive of CSF. Choroid plexus, it is productive CSF. Do you remember, Mohammed, what is absorbed the CSF?
Yeah. You mean about
absorption?
Yeah, visceral.
Because we must
visceral and
visceral and parietal.
Yeah.
We must.
This
We
is
don't
the
speak
fluid.
about pleura.
Yeah.
We speak about CSF.
It's the same.
What will absorb it and provide to the, because if it will be arachnoid, thank you very much. Arachnoidal matter, which is from the granulations, which is inserted inside of sinuses. Let's say how it can absorb. I say before that liquid we have not only inside of ventricles, but in subarachnoidal space. Let's say arachnoidal matter will absorb the part of this liquid to prevent high pressure and will provide it exactly to the venous system. Let's say remember please, in the same time we have production of the liquid and absorption. Layer number 3 will productive liquid. Layer number 2 will absorb the liquid. Is it understandable? So remember please, it is very important question. Do you have any problem with lateral ventricles? Yes, of course. And septa pellucida anterior. But laterally we don't have any connection. Lateral ones located inside of two temporal lobes. Between temporal lobes we have all brainstem here. Here we don't have any connections. Let's say inferior parts, yeah, it is located in the temporal lobe. And between them there are all the brainstem. We have real borders laterally, only in the central part, and in posterior horn and in anterior horn. In anterior horn, medial borders will be septa pellucida. In the central part, corpus callosum. In the posterior horn, two protrusions, which I say you. Anteriorly, it will be bulb of the posterior horn. Posteriorly, it will be protrusion of sulcus cartarinus. Let's say for the lateral borders, for the lateral, for the inferior horns, I say you, medial border will be just the basal nucleus and the fornix. But between right and left portions will be the huge distance. Here we don't have exactly tension. Awesome.
طاقتي نشوف راح اموت والله راح اموت او انما
What else? No any other questions? Let's write please next topic, the corpus callosum.
Function of CSF.
Function of
CSF.
You say that.
Function of CSF, right please. It forms pressure inside of the brain and it is provided special nutrition.
Provide.
It is provide the special nutrition. Let's say once again, it forms the pressure inside of the brain and it provided nutrition. Especially, my friends, I speak about proteins. Let's say it contains the proteins, mainly. Not all nutritions, but especially proteins. Now, next topic, please, right? Please, corpus callosum. Corpus callosum. Right, please. Corpus callosum, it is accumulation of the white matter. It is only white matter. We don't have here any gray matter. It is accumulation of the white matter which is divided or connected, how you want you can call, right and left hemispheres. Once again, accumulation of the white matter fibers, which is divided or connected, right and left hemispheres. Right, please. It is divided into 4 big portions. It is divided into 4 big portions. Now look everybody here. It is the real brain section. I will show here the portions for you. This is our corpus callosum. And you can see the part of it, it's written here. The most anterior inferior part we call the rostrum. Rostrum, it is the narrow part of the corpus callosum. And you remember, yeah, it is located just between 2 portions of the, up to the 2 portions of the fornix. Yeah, fornix located little laterally to it, just 2 minutes before we spoke. Up to it we have the genome. The genome, my friends, it is the place where the corpus callosum make the angle, and from superior surface it goes to inferior. Let's say up to the rostrum we have the genome. It is place of the angle. Part number 3, the biggest
So
part.
from superior go to inferior?
Yes, look here please, 1 minute, look here please. Mainly corpus callosum located in horizontal or near to horizontal level. But on the level of the genome, it made the angle. And from superior, it passed to inferior. Let's say before the genome, it is located superiorly. On the place of the genome, it made the angle and goes to inferior. Genome finished by the narrow portion of corpus callosum, which we call rostrum. That's a genome located up to the rostrum. The tip of my fingers we will call rostrum. The joint we will call the genome. That's in the place of the genome, corpus callosum made the angle. Biggest part, which is located approximately in oblique or horizontal direction, we call corpus. Corpus. Corpus.
Yeah.
In English we say body, in Latin we say corpus. Corpus. Corpus, my friends, it is the biggest portion of corpus callosum. This is the corpus. And it is located exactly, my friends, up to the fornix. It is located exactly up to the fornix.
Between the fornix and...
And it is contained mainly transverse fibers. Mainly in the place of the corpus or body, which is located just up to the fornix, we have transverse fibers. If you remember this kind of fibers, we call commissural fibers. Commissural fibers, which is connected right and left hemispheres to each other, before we say it. And finally, my friends, the last, 4th portion of corpus callosum, we call splenium or splenius. Splenium or splenius. Why splenium? Splenium, it is our special organ, yeah? Splenium, parenchyma, sorry. Just posteriorly, my friends, it is the most thick. It is the most thick part. It has the form of this organ.
Most posterior and most
thick.
It is posterior thick portion.
Like a pea.
Posterior thick portion. And most posterior portion of corpus callosum we call splenium. Why splenium? Because inferiorly it is round like our organ, spleen.
Yeah.
Let's say once again, my friends, 4 portions: rostrum, genome, corpus, and cerebellum. There are 4 portions. Let's continue. Right, please. Function. The best question of our friend. Function of it. Function of corpus callosum. Write it, please. Corpus callosum forms mainly association between right and left hemispheres. Once again, corpus callosum make association. Association in English will be connection. Connection between right and left hemispheres. And it is divided functionally into 3 portions. Anterior, which we call small forceps, forceps minor. Forceps, you remember? Instruments, forceps. Anterior or small forceps, look everybody here. It is forceps minor, forceps minor. Middle or transverse. And posterior or forceps major. Let's say once again, my friends, all this corpus, why? Remember the 4, yeah? Middle part, it is near the horizontal. Anterior and posterior part, it is made the round, curvature. Let's say anterior and posterior portions, these round portions, we call forcepses. Anterior portion, we call minor forceps. Posterior portion, we call major forceps. And middle portion between them, it is transverse. Let's say forceps minor, forceps major, and transverse. Alright, I will not give so longly for you function of each one. In the picture you will see which parts of hemispheres it will be associated to each other. Let's say different parts of corpus callosum will connect different lobes of hemispheres to each other, responsible part of different lobes to each other. Let's say this is single function of corpus callosum. It is association between different hemispheres. Today, guys, I explained in comparable with previous lesson that I didn't explain you health. Yeah, today I explain you everything. Let's say samely in the next lesson, all these questions I will ask you. Now I will record this for you in the shop. 3 lessons I ask you to make one folder for us.
I put in the second Windows.